Test, test, test. Hello, hello. Sound okay?
I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I'm opening, I'm opening, I'm opening, I'm opening, I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I'm opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the One. I'm opening, I'm opening, I'm opening, I'm opening.
Good morning, and let us open in prayer. We are opening to a new day, a new year, a new life. And with each moment, that new life unfolds with excitement, love, spreading kindness wherever we go. We live the dream of life in a positive, impactful, empowering, gentle way. We know that we are guided with each step by that indwelling presence, that Christ consciousness, love, and we take right action to create our life as one and in oneness together as love. Amen.
Day by day, day by day. Oh, dear Lord, three things I pray: to see Thee more clearly, love Thee more dearly, follow Thee more nearly, day by day. Day by day, day by day. Oh, dear Lord, three things I pray: to see Thee more clearly, love Thee more dearly, follow Thee more nearly, day by day. Day by day, day by day. Oh, dear Lord, three things I pray: to see Thee more clearly, love Thee more dearly, follow Thee more nearly, day by day. Day by day, day by day, by day, by day, by day.
Well, welcome to Unity of Louisville, where it is our mission to transform ourselves and the world through love, healing, and service. And if you notice, we have two new words, and that came through our new strategic plan, healing and service. And that's the focus that we're doing everything with here at Unity of Louisville. The board, the staff, all of our leadership. So again, we are here to transform ourselves and the world through love, healing, and service. And it's a great day. We have a great service for you today. Our speaker is our own Gerry Boylan. He is a wonderful part of our community, and I am dearly grateful for Gerry and for Margot for everything that they do. Gerry's class on Sundays, it's heartwarming for all the folks to be able to continue to do that, and to have Gerry here speaking with us again is a real pleasure. So thank you guys so much for this. I truly appreciate you. Our special music today is John and Kim D'Amato, yay. And I'm really glad that they're here. You know, it seems like on the days that it snows, somebody always has to travel the farthest, and I think today they get nope, you guys were right in town today. Good, yay. All right, and then we have our beautiful song leader today, Gloria Berry, with backup by Phil Crowther, our music director, and our beautiful pianist, Judy Paulsmeyer. And today our tech person is someone that you guys might not know. Sabrina Robinson Harrell is a new addition. She started in July as our social media person, and she's going to be doing our technology now on Sundays. So we are very grateful for Sabrina and all the knowledge that she brings to us. And I'm platforming. If you don't know by now, I'm Reverend Valerie Mansfield. So we are truly grateful that you're here. And if you're here for the first time, I want to honor you for coming into this group. And just take a moment to say welcome. And that wherever you are in your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. And we truly mean that. And whatever resonates within you, I invite you just to take it in. And if something that we say or do doesn't quite get it, let it go for the moment. And just let things unfold for you in this new community. If you're one of our regular attendees, we love you, we miss you, we see a lot of your smiling faces out here, and I continue to receive pictures, and I'm truly grateful for that. And I know that very soon we will be together again in person. We don't have it all worked out, but we're talking and trying to figure it all out. So just know that we are working towards us gathering together again. And I think that'll happen now that people are getting the vaccinations, sooner rather than later. If you haven't done this already, I'm going to invite you to share this service with your family and friends so they can enjoy Gerry's talk today, and the meditation, and the music, and all the love that we share. So go ahead and take this moment to share with your family and friends. And to greet each other. So, you know, those virtual hugs are important right now because there are so many people in isolation that are at home and alone and have been for the last 9 months. So it really is impactful when we call out to each other, especially to those that are new to our community. And now we're going to have our Lord's Prayer followed by a moment of silence where we join together as love, radiating that love to each other and out into the world to transform.
Our Creator, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth
Sorry, I had to get my phone. Today's daily word is dream. The affirmation is, I turn my dreams into reality. Let's say that together. I turn my dreams into reality. And one more time. I turn my dreams into reality. All right, we're supposed to say it 3 times, so let's do it really loud. I turn my dreams into reality. Some of the most audacious, bold, history-making events began as dreams. Born in the imaginations of those who understood the promise and the potential of humanity and worked to realize their vision. Even if my dreams do not change the world, they have the power to change my life. Today, I remember those whose dreams were fueled by their hard work, faith, and determination. I look to their example when my dreams feel far away and I am running low on hope. I rekindle my dreams through my imagination, which keeps them vivid. My strength helps me remain committed to their realization, and my zeal renews my enthusiasm to work toward creating the life and the world of my dreams. From Joel 2:28, your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, your old men shall dream dreams, and your young men shall see vision. Today's daily word is dream, and the affirmation is, I turn my dreams into reality.
There's a light that shines in each of us. There's a light that shines, and it shines with love. There's a child that smiles in each of us. There's a child that smiles, and it smiles with love. There's a song that lives in each of us. There's a song that lives, and it lives with love. There's a light that shines in each of us. There's a light that shines, and it shines with love.
There is a light inside of you, within each one of us. Every moment, every day. How seldom do we realize that? How often are we wrapped up in the cares and concerns of a normal day? Forget our own light, forget the light of others. I wonder what it would be like to imagine yourself being in the presence of unconditional love. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a deep breath. Just imagine yourself calling to yourself this wish, this desire of your heart to be in the presence of unconditional love. As you breathe, open your heart toward that. Let your abdomen soften, open. Let your heart space soften, open. I am in the presence of unconditional love, which not only reminds me of the presence of unconditional love, but also reminds me of the truth of who I am and the truth of who you are as well. I am in the presence of unconditional love. What happens to fear, to worry, to doubt, to uncertainty in the presence of unconditional love? Perhaps they are still there, but instead of being in the same room with you, they're sort of murmuring voices down the hallway. And every time those thoughts of limitation try to grab me, I remind myself I am in the presence of unconditional love. How does that change how I see myself, how I see you, how I see the situations in my external life? I am in the presence of unconditional love. If you find yourself distracted, come back to that energy again. I am in the presence of unconditional love. Allow to come to your mind an image or a picture that will be a reminder of this truth. I am in the presence of unconditional love. And whenever you bring it to mind, this day or other days, you will find yourself again in alignment and in the resonance of unconditional love. I am not only in the presence of unconditional love, I am unconditional love. So are you. So is all creation. If I am seeing anything differently, I am lost in illusion and error. There is only one truth. There's only one reflection of who you are and what all creation is. I am in the presence, I am in the awareness, I am in the truth of unconditional love. breathe that into your being so that it touches every cell and fiber of who you are, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, until there is no denying of that truth. And as you get ready to become part of this external world again, know that you do not leave that internal awareness. It is the presence of Christ always with you. So when you're ready to, you can take another couple of deep, cleansing breaths. Stretch a bit. Open your eyes when you're ready, carrying with you the realization and the truth. I am in the presence of unconditional love.
Good morning. We're so glad to be here this morning with everybody, those that are here, all the hands and hearts that are making this service possible here, and also those of you online. So thank you for having us. I wanted to share a song with you about what I think is the greatest metaphysical force, which is love. And this is called Love First. But it was inspired by a Kentucky Living article about a woman who was over 100 years old, and she had been a teacher. And it was in the magazine probably 15 or so years ago, but it just really struck me because approaching what she did with love first and foremost was what it was her message, and I thought that was really beautiful. You ready, babe? That listen for over an hour to the words of a century flower. She was over 100 years old, looked fragile but she was bold, and when he had to sum up what she had said, it seemed so simple. He scratched his head. I am already half her age, still trying to follow the words of that sage. She told me, love first, before you try to give or take. Love first, it's what you feel, not what you fake. 'Cause if you love first, it'll shine there in your eyes. There's nothing better better you can do with your time. She said, I was a teacher for most of my years. Every day they brought dreams and tears to me. I helped them carry that load. Best lesson I learned from this life, gotta look each and every one in the eye every day. Gotta love first before you try to teach. Love first before you try to reach out. Love first. If you're lucky, it will return in kind. There's nothing better you can do with your time. Oh, there's nothing better you can do with your time. Back at your life and grieve. It'll hit you in the chest one day. I know it sounds like a cliche, but the reason it's what they all say is because it's the truth. 'Cause you gotta love first before you try to touch. Love first. Oh, I know it feels like it hurts too much. If you love first, well, I promise it's worth the risk you take. Nothing better you can do with your days. Nothing better you can do with your days.
Thank you. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be free of suffering. May all beings remember who they are. I was really excited about this particular title. Jesus said, a great metaphysician. And the first draft of this talk turned out to be a 2-hour college lecture for a theology class. And I decided that didn't work too well. And I had to sit down with that for a while because I'm used to teaching classes too sometimes. I had to sit down with one and ask myself what was missing. I mean, because it had a lot of good stuff in it, but it was all up here. I said, well, how do we get here? And it began to dawn on me that something I missed, and I think perhaps a lot of us who might have been attracted to more of the new thought religions or schools of spirituality, is we got hooked into the message, which was really, really important, obviously, because it didn't destroy the old message, but it was so much more, there was so much more truth to it. It really did open our hearts and let go of a lot of blame, shame, and guilt. That's stuff that we've been carrying around with us for centuries. But I began to realize that it's not just the message, it's the presence I'm sure there have been teachers in your life, at least I hope there have been, whom you probably remember to this day. And you might not even remember what they taught you. You might not even remember what subject they taught you. But what you did recall was their presence with you. And how on some level of their being, maybe without even trying a whole lot, is that they just simply honored your presence. And they were open to your questions, they were open to how you were searching for things, and they were willing to give a part of themselves to you back, no matter what subject matter might have been. And it began to become a little bit more clear to me that Jesus' role as a metaphysical teacher was not just a whole bunch of nice ideas, because it was that too. But it was his presence that allowed the message to become alive, that allowed the message to become real. And sometimes I find myself missing that reality, getting more in touch with the message than I am with the presence. And so what I began to discover as I was putting this together was exactly what I talked about in my meditation this morning. Our meditation this morning, it certainly wasn't mine, of what would it be like to be in the presence of unconditional love? What would it be like to see this as the meaning of Jesus and his teaching? Not words, not books, not paraphrase, not warmed over lessons, not interpretation of somebody else's interpretation, but the truth and reality of what it would be like and what kind of response it would make if I was in the presence of unconditional love. How would that affect me? How would that affect how I looked at myself? How would that affect how I looked at you? How would that affect how I look at the world? If I realized no matter what, no matter how I felt, no matter what was going on in the external world around me, that I was still and continually and always in the presence of unconditional love. What would happen to fear? What would happen to being right? What would happen to judgment? What would happen to separateness? Everything we see and hear today, through all of these channeled works, Course in Miracles and Seth and Abraham and Emmanuel, and innumerable volumes written by innumerable spiritual beings, are all saying the same thing. The only reason why they're attractive is they're dressed up in new clothes. And so we get kind of hooked on the clothes rather than the message. I remember a teacher walked up to a student one time, and the student said to the teacher, "How come you keep telling us the same thing?" And the teacher said, "Because you never listen." There's a story told of the Apostle John, who was the last of the apostles to remain alive here on planet Earth, who was living in a kind of a faraway land, old and somewhat decrepit. And every morning they would wheel him out onto a patio, and he would talk to this group of people that would gather there, who were always waiting. I mean, this is one of the last people to know Jesus alive. So they were really waiting for this knockout kind of message. And they would all gather every morning, and his friends and disciples would wheel him out onto the patio, and he would look out at the front of this group of people and go, "Little children, love one another." And then he would turn around and go back. And everybody would go, "What, was that it? What's the rest?" And what he was saying was, there is no rest. That's it. If you could get that through your thick heads, little children love one another, you wouldn't have to do anything else. There would be no other place you would have to go. It's right there. Little children love one another. And maybe it's the message itself as well as the presence that was so radical that it took 2,000 years to begin to recognize as being the truth. And we're still doing that. We're still understanding the radicalization of that. To love your neighbor, to do good to those who hate you. In the East, they make a distinction between a teacher and a guru. Teacher will say, teacher shows the way. The guru is the way. That sound familiar? I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am. So are you. I become so wrapped up and so enamored of my own presence, or the presence of, I think, of one or two other people, that I forget how deeply, deeply, deeply we are connected with one another. How I lose track of that one. How I lose track of the presence of unconditional love when I fall into judgment, when I turn on the television. Even when I'm sitting down meditating and I can't seem to quiet my mind and I get back into judgment, so this must be something wrong with me. Little children love one another. So what I did was I sat down and I just allowed some thoughts to come to me as some ways that this teaching and this message and this presence could sort of come together with each one of us. And so the first one that occurred to me was this phrase, this idea that somehow or another we have so terribly, terribly distorted. And that is, "Oh Lord, I am not worthy." And so much of it comes down to feeling or experiencing ourselves as being worthy of unconditional love, which is garbage. If you go back to the original story, there was a guy who was in charge of the synagogue. Sometimes he was a Roman centurion, but he had servants under him. And he came up to Jesus and he said, "Jesus, would you please heal my servant?" And Jesus said, "Where do you live?" "Well, down the road." "Well, show me where you live." And he started following him, and the guy said, "No, wait, stop. Oh Lord, I am not worthy thou should enter under my roof, but only say the word and I shall be healed. My servant shall be healed." In other words, I don't want to bother you. I don't want to take your time. You can work the miracle of healing my servant right here, right now, in this place you're standing. You don't have to go 6 miles away. It doesn't have anything to do with me being bad or being limited or being wrong or being unworthy. I don't want to waste your time. You can do that miracle right here, right now. That's all it's saying. And so that particular phrase was adopted by a whole bunch of people who thought, this is a great way of controlling everybody else, because if they don't feel worthy, then they're going to have to come to me to get worthiness. And so immediately, as soon as that message got out there, as distorted and as twisted as it might have been, we started looking out there for the truth rather than in here. Oh Lord, I am not worthy. Baloney. You don't do anything to become worthy. You already are unconditional love. You already are worthy. There's nothing that can get in the way of that. That's why we say the kingdom of heaven is within you. Where else could it be? And if it's within you, it's within everyone and everything else. Even Paul said this, absolutely nothing can separate you from the love of God. Nothing. Not even how you think, how you feel, not even your sense of unworthiness that it wasn't even yours to begin with. Nothing can get in the way. Nothing. How are you loved? I love you, Jesus said, with an everlasting love. If I could get that one, just get it, how would my life be different? How would my relationship to myself be different? How would my relationship to you be different? I love you with an everlasting love. The people he had the most run-ins with, the scribes and the Pharisees, were the people who said, you are what you do. You are what you look like. You are what you appear like. And if you follow these rules and regulations, then you are okay. And if you don't, there's something wrong with you. And the biggest objection he had was, that's not who you are. You are a divine child of God, and there's absolutely nothing getting in the way of that. So you screw up once in a while. So you mess up once in a while. So you make a mistake, so you fall asleep. Does anyone condemn you? Neither do I condemn you. Go your way and sin no more. I'm not judging you. I never have and I never will. I'm not even judging the scribes and the Pharisees. I'm getting annoyed and angry at them because it's the only way I think that can wake them up. If I keep pushing, maybe they'll realize that whatever it is they're selling isn't what they're supposed to be selling. And there were some who responded to that, Nicodemus especially, who kind of was so scared to let out in public that he was okay with what Christ was saying. But he knew it in his heart. Took Peter, James, and John with him one day and went up to the top of Mount Tabor. And he did something called the Transfiguration. He showed himself as a being of light. And what he was saying to Peter, James, and John and the rest of the other people around later on was, this is who you are too. This is not just me putting on a little light show for you. This is who I am. And because this is who I am, this is who you are. The golden rule. Love God and love your neighbor. The Talmud, the Jewish book of wisdom, says, love God, love your neighbor, all the rest is commentary. Okay? The rest is somewhat irrelevant if you're doing that. Because if you love yourself and love God, you will love your neighbor. Well, how did St. Augustine put it? Love God and do what you please. Okay? That always knocks me out, okay? Because my ego is trying to think of, well, if I love God and I do this, I can do this. No, that's not it. If I love God and love my neighbor, I do what I please. Everything that I do is going to be a reflection of love. It can't not be. Prayer. The Father knows the prayer of your heart even before it is spoken. Ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be open to you. What father would give a child a snake when he asks for a fish? Or a rock when he asks for a loaf of bread? Or a scorpion when he asks for an egg? And if your earthly father would not do something like that, what about your heavenly Father? Already knows the needs of your heart before you even speak them. In fact, how many times have you been lost in prayer and me been lost in prayer when I was asking for something that I thought I needed, but it really wasn't what I needed? How many times have I gotten what I asked for sometimes and found out that I didn't want it anyway? The Father knows the prayer of your heart. Can I open myself to that as being the truth and saying, Father, here's what I think I need, here's what I think I want, but you know better than I do. You know better than my limited personality self. And so I'm putting my prayer, my openness, open-heartedness, I'm putting that in your hands. The whole of the New Testament is filled with parables, little stories, koans almost, like Zen koans, that have lessons that are so, first of all, so practical and yet so beautiful. One of my favorites is the Good Samaritan, no, the prodigal son. Because I always identify with the prodigal who kind of, messed up, wanted his money right now, went out, spent it, blew it all on stuff, right? And then is sitting in the pig pen feeding the pigs. And he says to himself, even the servants in my father's house have better food than I have. I know what I'll do. I'll go back to my father and I'll invent this little speech. I'll say, Father, I've sinned against you and against God, blah, 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 blah. And at least things will be better than they were. So he gets close to his father's, and his father's been looking for him every day, standing at the top of this hill, little old man. And he sees his son in rags and pig poop, walking along the road, coming back home. And he runs to him and embraces him. And the guy has this little speech prepared, Father, I've sinned against God, sinned against. He says, stop. Get him a robe, get him a ring for his finger, kill the fatted calf because my son who was lost has been found. And the essence of that particular parable was that the prodigal son, as far away as he thought he got from his father and his father's love, never left his father's love. It's always there. Son, you might have traveled far in the physical world, but you never left my heart. And the reason why you never left my heart is because you never could leave my heart. Karma. You reap what you sow. He wrapped up the whole karmic message in one little sentence. Didn't write a book about it, didn't write 10 books about it, didn't write a big philosophy book about it, didn't go into past lives, didn't go into this, didn't go in. He said very simply, you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. Wow. Addictions and attachments. It's easier for a rich man to pass through a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of heaven. That was not an impossibility. That was sort of a Middle Eastern metaphor. There was a gate in Jerusalem that was called the eye of the needle. That in order for a camel carrying a full load to get through it, the camel had to kind of go down on its knees almost and crawl through. So it's a difficult trip. But one of the most beautiful things and most sad moments in Scripture was when the rich young man talked to Jesus and said, what do I need to do to be saved? And he said, well, obey the commandments, do this. And he said, I do all those things. And he said, if you will be perfect, if you really want to follow the path, let go of all of that stuff you own, because that's not who you are. That's a rather free translation, but I think it's pretty close to the truth. And it says, the rich man looked away and walked away because he had many possessions. God, that's heartbreaking. I can't do this because I'm so attached to these things because I think they are who I am. I could go on with this for another few hours, okay, but I'm not going to. Faith. If you had the faith the size of a mustard seed and you said to that mountain, get up and walk, it would. Now, this is not a judgment I have on myself, but I wonder, where is my faith? If I tell a little grain of sand to move a couple of centimeters, I can't do that yet. But I do believe it's true. If you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you could say to that mountain, get up and walk, and it will. We do that all the time in unity with healing. When I hold you in the light and the truth of who you... That's what Jesus did. How did Jesus heal people? Again, this is a message and a lesson that comes from energy, not necessarily somebody saying something. But essentially, the way he healed people, my sense of this is, I see the truth in you, I see the perfection in you, I even see the perfection in your body. And my sense of your perfection is so powerful that it overcomes your sense of illness and limitation. Wow, what can I learn from that one? Holding yourself in that light. Holding others in that light. Couple more. What do you do with the outside world? Do you deny that? Say it's an illusion? Scribes and the Pharisees were trying to trap him one afternoon by asking him a question very similar to that. Who do we pay? What do we do with taxes? Who do we pay tribute to? He said, show me a coin of tribute. Whose face is that on there? Caesar's. Again, a one-liner. Render therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. Not, well, don't pay any taxes, they're all heathens. Now, each one of us is going to have a dope out what that means to each one of us. I'm not going to tell you what that means. But it is such a beautiful, concise message all in one particular spot. What am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to deny the outside world, pretend that it's not there, make it into an illusion? Or am I supposed to deal with that in the best way I know possibly how, connecting to my own spiritual alignment with the truth of who I am and the truth who God is for me? What's important in life? What are my values supposed to be? How do my values affect me? Wherever your heart is, there your treasure is also. Talk about a way of being able to become aware every moment of every day of what's going on with me and how I'm responding to the world, and whether I'm responding to the world with the highest vibration possible. Where your heart is, there your treasure is also. Here's the whole message. Nothing truly exists except unconditional love. And I will give you the strength and the wisdom and the courage to be able to put it into practice. Because in truth, the message is a reflection of who you are. Not what somebody told you, not what you learned from your family, not what you learned from your church, nothing that you learned from your own limited consciousness, but a reflection of the truth of who you are. And when you call to mind and heart the presence of the Christ consciousness with you and to you and through you, there is absolutely nothing, absolutely nothing that can get in the way of your truth. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be free of suffering. May all beings remember who they are. Thank you.
We're going to do one more song for you. I'm gonna sing this one. This song, when I was told about what the message was, is a metaphysical message, I said, well, my background, my first introduction to metaphysical thought came with the idea that Jesus, the great metaphysician, said, he said, "Be it done unto you as you believe." And that had, Reverend Val was saying, believe and receive. And that kind of rung true with me, and I said, okay, you know. So I wanted to write a New Thought song, and I was saying to Kim, you have all these, you know, spiritual songs. I want to write one. And but I wasn't really trying to. And then one day I was at work, and I had this melody going through my head. And it was just this chord right here. That's all I had. And then words started coming to me. I didn't have a pencil at the time, and I said, I'm just going to take a half day from work. I'm going to go home and write this song down. And I literally went home, and as if it was dictated to me, I just sat there and wrote this song. It took me about like 10 minutes. So I consider this song to be given to me from Spirit. And it's the verses are very much about believing and receiving things into your life, as Jesus said, "Be it done unto you as you believed." And the verses are a little different. The verses are more of an encouragement in this, the winter of our lives, this year, everything that's happened. So just take it as an encouragement and to smile, to enjoy life, and to walk in that grace that God gave us. And it's called Everybody Wins sometimes. I can't wait to see how these dreams shall come to be. You've only to speak the word, fly away, be free. Word of creation goes forth, and it shall be. Embrace all the mysteries our eyes long to see. We're only here for a little while, so you might as well laugh and show some style. Maybe learn how to smile sometime. If you just get one, here's have some fun. Get your face in the sun shine. forever these changes shall abide. Against all resistance, the ever-rising tide, to rise all above the storms and cross the great divide, to find a break in the wall, an entrance deep and wide. And if I could hear your song, teach me the words and I'll sing along. Together we'll be strong, ever side by side. And if everybody's kin, open up your hearts, let each other in. Pretty soon you'll begin to feel alright. You can believe it, it's right within your grasp. The point of intention, my mind's eye is free at last. The light of the morning, as surely as the dawn. There's a new song that's singing for those who hold on. I wanna show you the way. Take my hand, we'll leave right away. There ain't a word you can say gonna get me down. If you have been, open up your heart, let each other in. Pretty soon you'll begin to feel alright. And if everybody's kin, let's take a deep breath and we'll all jump in. Everybody wins sometime. Yeah, even you can win sometime. Everybody wins. Ooh.
Thank you for that wonderful song, John. Truly, truly. Kim, great. And Gerry, thank you. You hit it right on the head. Yeah. Spirit moves us in and through all things with love, unconditional. And now we come for that time where we get to share our love and our gifts, whatever it is that you're sharing today. And I invite you just to place your hand on your heart or place your love offering in your hand, however you see that. Know that you can go to unityoflouisville.org, unityofeastlouisville.org and make a donation. You can mail in your checks to either community. And if you're mailing it to the downtown church, we have a new P.O. box, which is 2468. And the zip code is 40201, and I invite you to mail your checks there. You can also text to give, which is that number is 844-996-2710. And know that all the gifts that are received go in and through this community and go out as love. So now let us join together with our prosperity proclamation. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And we say yes, and are open and receptive, knowing that those gifts of love bless us all. Our announcements for today. We have our fireside chats on January the 19th, which is Tuesday, at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. So the board and myself will be there just to hang out and talk and answer questions. Whatever it is that you want to ask, we'll be there. Or just to have a conversation. Also on Tuesdays, I've started a noon meditation online, prayer and meditation. So I invite you to join me for that. On Sundays, we have our discussion and prayer group. So this afternoon at 3:30, I'll be online. We'll talk about Gerry's wonderful message today, and then we'll do our own little prayer and surround our loved ones in that energy of love. We have our Reiki 1 and 2 webinar on January the 22nd. It starts at 6:30. It's for 2 hours on Friday night. And then on Saturday, it's from 10 to 5, and we'll have lots of breaks and lots of opportunity to be together. So, join us for all this wonderful stuff. And we have a lot more stuff coming in and being created and manifested. So, just know that. And now for our prayer for protection. Together, the light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine. And now for our peace song.
On earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Now there is peace on earth, and it has begun with me. Namaste, y'all.
And I see that I did forget an announcement. There is a multi-generational Valentine party outdoors at Unity East on the 13th. Of February. So just know that. If you're interested in helping with that or being part of that, contact Leah at unityoflouisville.org.